Hey there, welcome back. It is so great to see you. Since going on a no buy this year, I have learned to be very creative with not only my collection, but how I can combine some of these other products. Also just try to figure out what is really important in buying and what is not important in buying, and just overall trying to be very smart and strategic. So in this video, I wanted to kind of give y'all 10 tips, some of them that I have been implementing, some of these I have seen from other people mention, and some of these may be ones that you have not thought of. I hope this is of interest to you, and I hope that these tips help you. If you have any, let me know in the comments, because I would always love to learn and keep learning from you guys. Tip number 1 might be a little bit harder for others and easier for some, just kind of depends on your journey, your previous experience, and that is to act like you don't have money. So I know it's kind of hard because you want to go to a store, you go get groceries, you go buy some clothes, or you go buy just some whatever necessities you need. But I have found that if I have a certain amount of cash with me, let's say I take $30 or $40 with me, I need to set aside what I really need and what I was actually going there for, and then the rest, if I have enough left over, or if I truly need the product, then I can go ahead and maybe spend. But I try to think that I do not have money on me, or I bring maybe just like a gift card with a certain amount of money, or I just think of this is the amount I set for myself and this is the only amount that I can spend. So while it is easier said than done, but this is a tip that I have tried to implement over the past couple of years. Tip number 2 is actually one that works wonders, and it has worked for me over the past, I don't know, like 10 years that I've built my vanity and that I've had my vanity, and that is to reorganize and clean your space. I know it sounds very obvious and it sounds kind of like, how is that going to help? But if you think of a space in your house that you go to and you keep walking into and it's the same layout. Like, I am bored of it, I need something refreshed, I don't want to go out and buy something, I don't want to go buy new decorations, I don't want to completely revamp the space and go spend a bunch of money, which we all don't have. And that is where reorganization comes into play. If you have a brush holder and you're like, this is not functioning for me anymore, go in your house and find something to repurpose that and use it as a brush holder, and it's like a whole nother area of your makeup. Recently I downsized the amount of lipstick drawers that are sitting on my vanity. Instead of having 20 and most of them being empty, I took out the empty ones and I reduced it, and now it looks like a whole new space. And also to cleaning your area. I cannot stress this enough. I am a little bit OCD about making sure that my entire vanity space is cleaned before and after I do my makeup. I make sure that every single product that I am using and touching, I am constantly having a little, I know this is dirty, a little cloth or a wet wipe, and I'm always saturating it with alcohol, and I'm making sure that I clean outside, inside the product. I'm cleaning my hands, I'm cleaning my space, I'm cleaning the tools, like everything gets clean. And also take the time, maybe like once a month or every couple of months, to go and open your drawers, take out all your organizers and sanitize them. And this helps beyond wonders, because not only does your space feel new and refreshed and obviously clean and sanitized, so you're not going to be contaminating or have any bacteria, but just a whole new reorganized space. You just feel excited again, and you feel, most of the time, feel a spark. So it may seem crazy, but it does work. Number 3 is a very common tip, and that is to shop your stash, or to sort of dupe it with what's on in the market, or just compare to a new release that you're interested in, because more than likely you have something similar or you can make something similar. So shopping my stash is a very common, I won't say practice, it's a very common theme or a very common video idea that is amongst the beauty community. Basically, you go and shop what you already have. So instead of going to the store and shopping for a new mascara or shopping for a dewy primer or a dewy foundation, you kind of look in your own collection and you say, hey, I have, let's say, this sort of pulling out the CoverGirl luminizer. This is like a Hollywood Flawless filter. I have a matte foundation that I kind of want to give a little bit of healthy glow to it. Or you can mix your luminizer with a matte blush, or with a matte bronzer, or with a powder eyeshadow that you want to kind of combine and turn into like a highlighter. So your options are endless. Number 4, I wrote down saying, use your products old and new. And I know that sounds a little bit counterintuitive, and it sounds a little obvious too. You're like, well, duh, yeah, I'm going to use my products new and old. But I think a lot of us tend to, I say a lot of us who participate in Project Pans tend to only put older products, because obviously they're older, obviously they're getting close to their expiration date, or they're just not performing well, and we want to at least use those up before they completely go bad. And that leaves some of the newer products in your collection to kind of just sit there and be the next round of products that are now considered old. So while we always want to use our collection and just use everything and rotate through everything. Don't feel bad to use a mixture of some of your older products and some of your new products and use them together. Your collection is supposed to provide a happiness, a joy, a great time, a good experience, something that you enjoy and want to do, not something that just feels forced. So don't feel like it's a pressure. Use the old, use the new, play with everything, have fun, because at the end of the day, I bet you're going to feel a little bit of regret, and you're like, I should have played with that product, or I should have used that product when I had the chance. Start today. Tip number 5 is to challenge yourself to use maybe one palette for X amount of days, for a week, a month. Maybe it's a foundation, or maybe it's a primer, or maybe you want to test out a concealer with all of your foundations. Go ahead and do something like that. The topic of the one palette and multiple looks. Example, take this palette, Pinky Rose Bright Lights. This is in my June focus palettes for this month now. Would look at this palette and I would say, what kind of looks can I create? I could create, a majority of these looks could, maybe be a one and done. So that takes care of pretty much all of the shades in here. If you don't want to use the glitters, you don't have to use the glitters. Well, maybe I want to do a pink and yellow, so I combine these two. Maybe I want to do a yellow and blue. I combine these two. So your possibilities really are endless if you sit down and really think of how many options and how many looks can be created of this that you probably otherwise wouldn't have thought of. So a few ideas would be, like I mentioned, you can do one and dones. You can just do two, pair just two shadows at a time. You can reorder this palette on a piece of paper in alphabetical order and just use it in alphabetical order, or start from the end of the alphabet and work your way to the beginning. You can do a little quad section. You could do just a couple 3 and then just do these 3. You can do spell out your name, you can spell out a word. Like, there is just so many different options and ways that you could really test the limits of a palette's possibility and potential, and that would just make you sort of maybe fall in love with the palette, or maybe get an idea of a palette that you were uncertain about, and you can decide, maybe I do end up wanting to keep this, or maybe this doesn't serve a purpose. So that'll also kind of scratch the itch of wanting to go buy new palettes as well. Tip number 6 kind of backtracks and relates to tip number 2, and also is a very much like, duh, it's a very obvious to some, but to others it may be a forgotten task. They might be too busy, they might be lazy, they might be going through some sort of chronic illness that just prevents them from being able to do it more often. So here is my reminder to you to clean your tools and your brushes. And what I mean by tools is some of us neglect to clean our eyelash curlers, our tweezers for eyelashes, anything else that you may use in your makeup routine, to clean them. And I don't mean with soap and water, I mean with, like I said, a wet wipe, saturated with alcohol, go in and clean this band part of it, clean this rubber piece, clean the inside, clean your handles. I am that much of a little freak to clean every little inch of a brush or product to make sure that nothing gets contaminated, that if I am sick or I've got an eye infection or I was just coughing up my lungs like I'm currently have been the past couple days, I make sure that anything I touch, anything that I'm like breathing over gets sanitized, and that way everything's got a fresh start, everything is like new. My products will actually pick up and blend a lot better, and they will actually perform a lot better than if you hadn't cleaned them. So, might be obvious, but please, 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 please take care of your tools and your brushes. They will love you right back. Tip number 7 is to layer, mix, or apply your products differently. Now, this can be what I mentioned earlier when I said to mix a sort of like luminizer product, or to mix 2 different colored blushes, or to mix 2 different colored eyeshadows to make your perfect brow shade, or whatever have you. But this is also just a routine as well. So if you do your eyes first and then your face, and you've gotten into that habit and you're like, oh, I'm just tired of this, switch it up and maybe try doing your face first and then your eyes. Of course, being very careful with some eyeshadow formulas and having fallout, because then you're just gonna have to wipe all that away and then rework it. Also, just other ways that if you're feeling bored with your makeup collection, to experiment, to mix other sort of products with another one. There's a whole section that I have written down in my notes that are just several different ways that you could mix a matte powder blush with a powder highlighter to make a glowy blush, or you can use a cream or liquid blush and a cream or liquid highlighter or illuminizer to create a glowy blush, or a blush topper. You can repurpose your eyebrow pencil on as a lip liner. Like, there is just a plethora of ideas of ways to repurpose just a simple one eyebrow product, or just a simple one blush color, mix your blush colors. Options are endless if you really think about it, and if you have some of the staples in collection. And I also want to give a shout out, because Sarah Rose here on YouTube is, like, to me, the queen of repurposing in Project Pan, because she has an entire playlist of ways you can use just your foundation alone, ways you can use just your concealer, ways you can use just your bronzer. Like, every single part of your routine, there's something in those videos that she has made that will have you repurpose or rethink your collection in a whole entirely different way. I know too, Kelly Gooch here on YouTube as well has a little section of it in one of her videos, which I don't remember which one. I will do my hardest and I will link them down below, but they are great sources of information, and just everyone else on here on YouTube as well. Go out there, get creative, because you may never know what sort of creation you can create that you might end up liking. Tip number 8, instead of thinking of looking at a, let's say example, an eyeshadow inspiration picture, and you think, well, this color looks close to that, this color looks close to that, let me swatch out and have a similar color story and create it on my eyes. What about a technique? Instead of, maybe you want to perfect your eyeliner, so maybe look up techniques for that. Maybe you want to perfect in a smoky eyeshadow look, a cat eye. Maybe you want to perfect draping of your blush. I know that we always say to try and dupe a look with the palettes that you have at home, but I feel like where one should start is techniques first. If you have a good foundation, not like actual foundation, but if you have a good base of a foundation of good eyeshadow brushes, good foundation brushes, or just good overall base brushes, and then you practice your techniques, the type of products that you have or that you see others and you may want may not always feel like you need them. So if I want to create a smoky eye, I have a black eyeshadow in my collection, I have maybe a black eyeliner, I have a brown eyeliner, and I've got some other sort of different variation of brown shadows. I watch a video and I follow that technique with what I have, and I don't need to go out and buy specific tools and colors just to achieve something that I already have of here in my collection. Number 9 is actually one that I don't really hear people talk about. I mean, I hear the complete opposite of this, but I feel like it's very crucial to do the way that I'm telling you to, or like the opposite of that. Instead of decluttering, how about you don't declutter? I know, hear me out. We're always so accustomed to seeing declutters on the internet and saying, well, if you don't like it, well, just declutter it. I think you shouldn't declutter just because there are some products that may surprise you. If you sit with a product long enough, I know you might feel hatred towards it. I know you might feel like, well, I don't want to use it, I'm keeping it just to keep it. Now, I'm not to say keep a product if it gives you an allergic reaction or a side effect or anything like that. Please discard it. If it's moldy, if it gives you a reaction, if it's actually absolutely 100% bad. But if the product is still good and you're still able to work with it, you're still able to use it, you still have some product left, give it a chance. Let it show you what its truly powers can do. Because you could be amazed at what holding onto a product may do for you. Now, I'm not saying hold onto it forever until it expires and then your excuse is declutter it. But sit with a product, play with it, manipulate it, try it in different ways. Instead of it, a blush that works on your cheeks, maybe mix that color with a bronzer to create your perfect tone of bronzer. It kind of goes back to, you know, when you're feeling bored with your makeup, to layer mix the things. Truly think of a product. There are times where, example, recently, I had just finished the Wet n Wild foundation, the tinted hydrator, and I had used it back in the day, and I completely forgot my thoughts of until I recently pulled it back out because I was close to finishing it, and I tried it with a brush, and I was so used to using it with brush because that's my method of applying my makeup nowadays. And then there was a day where I needed to do my makeup, but my favorite foundation brush was wet, and I didn't want to dirty up another one, so I said, well, let me use a sponge. Let me bring it back out. So I used it wet and I used it dry. And what did I find out? That I much prefer using that foundation with a dry sponge. Would I have found that out if I had I say force myself, but it's actually a good thing to sit with the product, to actually sit and play with it, give it a chance, to not just completely write it off as a declutter. Because more often than not, you might end up liking the product just in a whole different way. And my last tip is one that I don't hear, well, I hear it in a sense often, but not in the amount of time that I suggest. And that is to wait at least 30 days to decide if you really want to buy a new product. Most say sit with it 24 hours, sit with it 48 hours, have it in your cart, don't look back, and just forget about it. I feel like if you want to truly, as they say, it takes 21 days to build or break a habit. 30 days is way past that, and I feel like 30 days is more than enough time for someone to look at a product, look at reviews and thorough reviews of everybody who's used it, look at looks, look at wear times, look at whatever the product is, to really research it. And then by the end of the 30 days, if you still want that product, then it is meant for you. But if by all of that researching and you're still like, why did I want that product? Or I'm not interested in that product no more, your answer is no. And you get to save money at the end of it. Of course, going longer is even better, because for me personally, there was a palette that I was going to sort of impulse buy on Black Friday. Then it went sold out, and I said, well, what am I going to do? This is my option and my time to really take account of what is it about the palette that I like, I don't like, let me see looks, let me see reviews, let me see just anything and everything about it to fully research it. And 6 months later, I said no. I bought a completely different palette. Still bought a palette, but at least it wasn't that one. I bought something else that served a better purpose for me. And those are my top 10 tips that I either have learned, that I have watched, or I have implemented myself. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys have an awesome rest of your day and or week, and I'll catch you in my next one. Bye bye, guys.